The night my boyfriend proposed to my stepsister in front of 500 people, I did something I can never take back. I kissed a stranger to hide my tears. He kissed me back like he owned the room. Because he did. Every person in that ballroom had gone to pale the moment my lips touched his. I didn't know why until it was too late. His name was Lee Han, and he wasn't just powerful, he was Seoul's most feared Korean mafia boss. And my ex-boyfriend? He worked for him. My name is Florence. And that one desperate kiss? It changed everything. I want you to picture something. You spend 3 years loving someone. 3 years cooking his favorite meals, learning his schedule, rearranging your dreams to fit around his. 3 years believing he sees you, really sees you, when he looks across a room. And then one night in the most beautiful ballroom in Seoul, surrounded by 500 of the city's most powerful people, he looks across a room and walks straight past you. My name is Florence. I grew up in Lagos with nothing but my mother's prayers and a hunger that had no name. I clawed my way into Seoul's fashion industry through sheer will, working double shifts, skipping meals, sending money home every month without fail. I built something real here, something mine. And I thought Yoon Seo was part of that something. He was charming, attentive, the kind of man who remembered how you took your coffee and texted good morning before you even opened your eyes. For 3 years, I believed he was safe. I was wrong. That night, I wore a gown the color of midnight. Deep navy silk that swept the floor, off-shoulder, fitted. I felt powerful, beautiful, untouchable. I arrived at the gala alone because Jun Seo said he'd meet me inside. I told myself that was fine. It wasn't fine. I spotted him near the stage, and beside him, smiling, touching his arm, wearing a red dress I recognized because I helped her pick it, was my stepsister Amara. My stomach dropped. Something was wrong. I started walking toward them when the lights dimmed suddenly and a voice over the microphone said, "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special moment about to happen." My feet stopped moving. My blood ran cold. The spotlight hit the stage. Jun Seo walked up those 3 steps like he'd rehearsed it. Confident, smiling, adjusting his jacket the way he always did when he wanted to impress people. Amara floated beside him in that red dress, her hand tucked into his elbow like she belonged there, like she'd always belonged there. The crowd murmured. Phones came out, people leaned forward, and I stood frozen in the middle of it all, the only person in that ballroom who couldn't breathe. Jun Seo took the microphone. "I've spent a long time searching for someone real," he said, his voice smooth, practiced. "Someone who sees me. Someone honest. Someone worth choosing." The words landed like stones in still water. Worth choosing, he looked at Amara the way he used to look at me. Then he reached into his jacket pocket. The ring box was small, velvet, black. I bought him a similar box once, a birthday gift, a watch. I remembered wrapping it at midnight after a 12-hour shift, exhausted and so stupidly in love. He got down on one knee. The crowd gasped. Someone behind me whispered, "Oh, how romantic." And I wanted to collapse onto that marble floor and disappear into it. "Amara," he said, "will you marry me?" She covered her mouth. Fake tears, perfect performance. "Yes," she breathed. "Yes, yes, yes." The applause erupted, and in that exact moment, Jun Seo looked up. He found me in the crowd immediately, like he'd known exactly where I was standing. He looked straight at me and smiled. That smile broke something in me that I don't think words can describe. It wasn't accidental. This was the plan all along. The applause was deafening. But all I could hear was the sound of my own heartbeat, loud, unsteady, humiliating. People around me were clapping, smiling. Some were already raising champagne glasses toward the stage where Jun Seo was sliding that ring onto Amara's finger, like she was something precious, like she was me. My legs wouldn't move. My mind kept replaying that smile, deliberate, satisfied, cruel. He'd planned this. He'd brought me here specifically to witness it, to break me publicly, to make sure I had nowhere to hide. 3 years? 3 years, and this was my ending. Don't cry, I told myself. Don't you dare cry here. But my eyes were already burning. My vision was blurring at the edges. My hands were shaking so badly I could feel my clutch bag trembling against my palm. People were starting to notice me. I saw it. The sideways glances, the whispers behind raised glasses. Colleagues from my industry recognizing me, watching my face fall apart in real time. A woman nearby touched her friend's arm and nodded in my direction. The friend looked away quickly. That was worse than anything. Junseo had done. The pity. I needed to move, I needed air. I needed to get out before I became the tragic headline at someone's breakfast table tomorrow morning. I turned sharply and walked straight into a wall. Except it wasn't a wall. It was a man, immovable, solid, smelling faintly of something expensive and dangerous. I stumbled backward. His hand caught my elbow instantly, one firm grip that stopped me from falling completely. I looked up, and the first thing I saw was his neck. The tattoo. Dark ink crawling above a crisp black collar. A serpent coiled and watching. He was tall in a way that made the room feel smaller. Sharp jaw. Dark, intense eyes that held absolutely no warmth. Just calm, calculated observation. His hair was black, styled back. His suit was tailored so precisely it looked like it had been built around him like armor. And that tattoo, the serpent curling up his neck, it moved slightly as he swallowed. Every person within 10 feet of him had unconsciously stepped back, except me, because I didn't know who he was yet. Are you all right? His voice was low, quiet. The kind of quiet that didn't need volume to command attention. I wasn't all right. I was seconds away from dissolving completely in front of 500 people while my ex-boyfriend celebrated his engagement to my stepsister on a stage behind me. I looked back at that stage. Junseo was kissing Amara now. Slow. Deliberate. For the crowd. Something snapped inside me, not broke. Snapped. Hot, sudden, violent. I was done being the woman who stood quietly in pain while people performed their cruelty around her. Done being the girl from Lagos who worked twice as hard and asked for half as much and still somehow ended up with nothing. Done. Before my mind could stop my body, I turned back to the stranger, grabbed his collar with both hands, pulled him down, and kissed him. The room vanished. For 3 full seconds. Silence. Then the gasps started. He had gone, completely still against me. Not pulling away, not pushing forward, just still. Like a man recalibrating everything he thought he knew about this moment. Then, slowly, deliberately, his hand found my waist, and he kissed me back. Like we were the only 2 people alive. I pulled away first, breathless, trembling. The rage that had powered that kiss was already cooling into horror. What did I just do? The ballroom was a wall of stares, hundreds of eyes, open mouths, champagne glasses suspended midair. Even the music had stopped. I don't know when, but it had. Junseo was staring from the stage, his smile gone, replaced by something I'd never seen on his face before. Fear, not anger, not hurt. Fear. Amara beside him looked like she'd swallowed something sharp. I didn't understand it yet. I turned back to the stranger. He was watching me with those unreadable dark eyes, his collar still slightly displaced where I'd grabbed him. He didn't look angry. He didn't look embarrassed. He looked curious. I'm so sorry, I whispered. I wasn't thinking. I just needed. You needed to hurt him back, he said quietly. I blinked. I understand, he added. Nothing more. Then his gaze shifted, just briefly, as toward the stage, and something passed across his face. Cold, dark. The temperature around him seemed to drop 2 degrees. Come with me, he said. I don't know you. I know. He held out his hand. But every person in this room does. And right now, walking out with me is the only exit that protects what's left of your dignity. I looked at his hand, then at the crowd still staring, then at Junseo, who had stepped off the stage and was moving through the crowd toward me with an expression that was no longer fear. It was fury. I took the stranger's hand. He moved through that crowd like water parting for a stone. Instant, effortless, silent. Nobody blocked us. Nobody spoke. Nobody breathed. We stepped outside into the cold Seoul night. The rooftop terrace was empty. Everyone was still inside processing what they'd just witnessed. The city stretched below us, a galaxy of lights, indifferent and beautiful. I pressed my back against the railing and finally, let out the breath I'd been holding since that spotlight hit the stage. Who are you? I asked. He stood a few feet away, hands in his pockets, looking out at the city like it belonged to him. Lee Han, he said simply. The name hit the air and stayed there. And you? Florence. He looked at me then. Really looked, the way people rarely do. Like he was reading something behind my eyes rather than just seeing my face. Florence, he repeated, like he was filing it somewhere important. My ex-boyfriend, I said, my voice cracking slightly on the word ex, the first time I'd used it. He planned that, the whole thing. He brought me here just to watch. I know Junseo, Lee Han said quietly. I stilled. He works for me. The ground shifted beneath my feet. He works. You're his employer. Yes. I laughed. Short, broken, slightly hysterical. So I just kissed my ex-boyfriend's boss in front of 500 people. Yes. And you kissed me back. A pause. Yes? Why? He was quiet for a moment. The city hummed below us. Somewhere inside, the music had restarted, muffled through glass. Because, he said carefully, you look like someone who'd been swallowing pain quietly for a very long time. My throat tightened. And because nobody, he continued, his voice dropping lower, deserves to be humiliated like that. I looked at him. For the first time that night, I didn't feel alone. We talked for an hour on that terrace. I don't know how it happened. One moment I was a stranger catching my breath. The next I was telling this man things I hadn't said out loud to anyone. About Lagos, about my mother, about arriving in Seoul with 2 suitcases and a terrifying amount of hope. About Junseo. How good he'd seemed at first. How the warmth had slowly, quietly disappeared over the last few months, without me understanding why. Lee Han listened. He didn't interrupt. Didn't offer hollow comfort. Just listened with that same focused stillness. Like every word I said mattered enough to be stored carefully. What do you do? He asked eventually. Fashion. I run a small consultancy. Styling, brand identity. I wrapped my arms around myself against the cold. What do you do? The corner of his mouth moved. Barely. Not quite a smile. Business, he said. That's vague. Deliberately. I should have pressed. I didn't. He shrugged off his jacket without a word and held it out toward me. I stared at it. You're cold, he said simply. I took it. It was warm and heavy and smelled expensive, cedar and something darker underneath. I pulled it around my shoulders and immediately felt ridiculous for how safe it made me feel. Thank you, I said quietly. Don't thank me. Yet? For what? He looked at me steadily. Junseo isn't going to forgive what happened tonight. He's embarrassed. Dangerous men do stupid things when they're embarrassed. Junseo isn't dangerous, I said. No, Lee Han agreed, but the people he's been borrowing money from are. I froze. What did you just say? His expression didn't change. Your boyfriend has debts, Florence, very serious ones. And tonight he just made them your problem too. The words sat between us like a detonation. What do you mean he made them my problem? Lihan was quiet for a moment, measuring, careful. 3 weeks ago, he said, Junseo used your name as collateral on a debt he couldn't cover. Forged documents, your signature, your business registration. The cold I felt had nothing to do with the night air. That's not possible. He couldn't. I have the paperwork, Lihan said. My people flagged it when his creditors came to me. That's why I was at this event tonight. Not for the gala. For him. Everything rearranged itself in my mind. The distance over the last few months, the questions about my business income, the casual borrowing. Just until next week, Florence. You know I'm good for it. The reason he'd kept me close even as he was already planning to humiliate me publicly and vanish with my stepsister. He wasn't just leaving me. He was framing me on his way out. He was going to run, I said slowly. Propose to Amara, disappear, and leave me holding his debt. Yes. My hands were shaking again, just but not from grief this time. Can you fix it? The question left my mouth before my pride could stop it. Lihan studied me. Why would I? Because you kissed me back, I said, and I don't think you do anything without a reason. Something shifted in his eyes. Subtle, significant. I can make it disappear, he said quietly. The debt, the documents, all of it, gone by morning. And what do you want in return? A long pause. Have dinner with me, he said. Tomorrow, just dinner. I searched his face for manipulation, for calculation. I found neither. Okay, I whispered. Just dinner. He made it disappear. Every forged document, every fraudulent signature, every debt Junseo had tried to chain around my neck on his way out of my life. Gone. By 7 a.m. the next morning, my lawyer called to confirm that my business registration was clean, my name was clear, and no outstanding claims existed against me. I stood in my kitchen in my pajamas, reading the message, and cried. Properly this time. Not the broken, humiliated tears from the ballroom. Something else, relief, rage, and something that felt dangerously close to gratitude. Dinner with Lihan was nothing like I expected. No grand restaurant, no performance. He took me to a quiet, private room above a place that had no sign on the door, where the food arrived without menus and the staff disappeared after serving it. Just us, candles, the sound of rain against the windows. He asked about my mother. I talked for 40 minutes without stopping. He listened like he had nowhere else on earth to be. Over the following weeks, he became a constant. Steady, unhurried, never pushing. He showed up when I needed distraction and disappeared when I needed space, like he'd memorized the rhythm of me without asking. You're not what I expected, I told him one evening, 3 weeks in. What did you expect? Something colder. He looked at me across the table. I am cold, Florence. With everyone else. I felt that land somewhere deep. Junseo left Seoul. Nobody said where. Amara sent one text, a single sorry that I deleted without responding. My father called from Lagos to say he was proud of me. I didn't tell him about Lihan yet, but I kept his jacket. The one from that night, still hanging on my bedroom door, cedar and something darker underneath. A reminder that sometimes the worst night of your life opens the door to something you never thought you deserved. So tell me, have you ever had something break you so completely that it accidentally set you free? Drop it in the comments. And if Florence's story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe. Because this is only the beginning.